All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's demonstration of Roosevelt's Return to Campus app. You might have heard Michael Ford mention it during last week's Return to Campus webinar. So today I'm going to walk you through what to expect from the app, and then I'll be happy to take questions at the end. I'll be joined during the Q&A session by Neeraj Kumar, who will be able to field additional questions if I cannot. So let's get rolling. So this is the third in a series of webinars intended to inform the community about Roosevelt's return to campus. There was one yesterday about academics hosted by Provost Becker, and we have a couple more coming up next week. If you missed one or won't be able to attend an upcoming event, the videos will all be available on the university's COVID-19 site, which is blogs.roosevelt.edu/coronavirus. So I would encourage you to go and check those out. If they're not up there now, they will be by the beginning of next week. So the app itself. Oops. The goals of the Return to Campus are, the Return to Campus app are to provide all students, faculty, and staff the necessary information and resources to either return to campus safely or to continue to study or work remotely. Number two, to help all students, faculty, and staff determine whether it is safe for them to physically come to campus through an easy-to-use self-screening assessment. And three, to provide the appropriate offices with information that will aid in contact tracing in the event of an outbreak on campus. We are intending to roll this out this coming Monday, August 3rd, and we should know later this afternoon if that will not be the case. If it will not be the case, we will be certain to notify the community through as many communications channels as possible. But right now we are expecting that this will roll out on Monday, August 3rd. So, accessing the app. It's important to note that the Return to Campus app is really just an extension of Roosevelt's already existing app, which you can download from the iOS App Store at roosevelt.edu/iOS or the Google Play Store, roosevelt.edu/Android. So if you already have the app on your device, there's no need to download it again. If you don't already have it, you must download it before returning to campus. When you first open the app after downloading, you'll be provided with a choice of three different what we call personas. One of these will be for the Current Students app, which is where students can do things like register for classes, check their grades, or pay their bill. This has been up till now the sort of standard interface for the app. You will also see one of the choices will be New Student Orientation, which will be happening virtually this year. A lot of it will be happening on the app. And then, of course, one will be the Return to Campus, which we will discuss more in depth momentarily. Whichever choice you make will remain the default persona on your device. So, for example, if you choose Current Students, then that will be the persona that your phone will automatically select the next time you open the app. However, if you need to switch personas for any reason, for example, if you're a student who needs to visit campus, say once a week, but otherwise uses the Current Students persona more frequently, we intend to make it very obvious how to switch back and forth between the two personas. And you can always switch personas by tapping the person icon on the top right of your screen. If you choose either Current Students or the Return to Campus persona, you'll be asked to sign in with your NetID and password. This login should be valid for a full year, so you shouldn't need to log in again each time you use the app, unless for some reason you happen to log out, and in which case the next time you open the app, you will be asked to log in again. But We're trying to make this as frictionless as possible. Log in once, that login is good for a full year. So on the app itself, the first thing you'll see upon entering the Return to Campus persona will be a link to the daily self-assessment form. All students, faculty, and staff who will be entering a campus building will be required to fill out this form each day prior to entering the building. On the form, you'll see a series of questions based explicitly on recommendations from the Center for Disease Control about your current state of health. There will also be a question in relation to the City of Chicago's quarantine travel order. And these questions will be updated as new guidance from medical professionals becomes available. So depending on how you answer those questions, after you submit the form, you'll see either a green check mark or a red X. If you receive a red X, you should not come to campus. You will not be allowed to enter a Roosevelt building if a red X is displayed. If you have a green check, you will need to show you can come to campus, and you will need to show your phone to the campus safety staff at the door in order to be admitted entrance into the building. If you don't have your phone or can't show the green check mark for whatever reason, you'll need to have a temperature screening and fill out a paper version of the form at the door. So performing the assessment ahead of time will save you a significant amount of time. And in addition to showing your self-assessment, you'll still need to swipe your ID card in order to get into the building. Once you've filled out the self-assessment and received your check or your X, you can navigate back to the Return to Campus home screen by tapping back or the Roosevelt R on the top left, depending on your operating system, or to another section of the app via the hamburger menu at the top right of your screen. You can always get back to your day's assessment by tapping the button on the Return to Campus home screen or via the hamburger menu. Once you've filled out your assessment for the day, you will not be able to resubmit it until the following day. So in regards to security, the data that you submit via the self-assessment form is stored securely and is encrypted. No one has access to the data except those who need it to be able to generate reports. Data will be shared with the appropriate offices only if you report that you have tested positive for COVID-19 or have been in contact in the last 14 days with someone who was diagnosed. In which case, if you're a student, the Dean of Students office will be notified, or if you're an employee, then the Human Resources office will be notified. So the self-assessment really is the most crucial piece of functionality on the app. It's really important that every time you plan to come to campus, you submit that form accurately. It really will be key to ensuring the safety of all of our students, faculty, and staff. In addition to the self-assessment, the app offers additional information and functionality. You'll see these icons below the link to the self-assessment form. The first one is the wellness section of the app. And there are two subsections, one for students and one for employees, faculty and staff. In the student section, you'll find information about health services available to you, including sign up for the virtual care group account. And in both sections, you'll find a form where you can report if you think that you might have COVID-19. Now, this is separate from the daily self-assessment. If you think you might have COVID-19, we'd encourage you to fill out this form even if you do not plan on coming to campus. For example, you might be exhibiting symptoms, and therefore your self-assessment has told you, no, I should not go to campus, but you have not yet actually been tested or have not gotten your confirmed test results yet. We would still encourage you to complete this form to notify the Dean of Students or the Office of Human Resources as appropriate, and which will allow them to reach out to you with resources and assistance. Next section is the alerts and updates. And this will give you easy access to posts that have been added to the university's COVID-19 blog. The new normal is divided up by campus, and that will provide information on expectations and safety protocols at each campus, including which entrances can or cannot be used. It will be updated as new guidelines or procedures are implemented at the various campuses. Soap and sanitizer outage. If you notice that an area has run out of hand sanitizer or soap, you can report that using a very simple form. Study areas. So in addition to common areas where everyone is expected to practice social distancing and wear their masks while in the building, the university will be designating some classrooms as socially distanced study areas, where students may work in between classes, participate in online classes, or otherwise relax without having to leave the building. These classrooms will not have computers available, so we encourage all students to bring their personal laptops or whatever device they use for connecting to Zoom classes, along with headphones or microphones as necessary. The computer lab section will provide a list of computer labs available on campus, along with a dynamically updated count of the computers currently in use. Each monitor in the computer lab does have a camera if you'll be using them for Zoom classes, but for safety reasons, you must bring your own headphones and microphone if you're going to use the computer labs for Zoom classes. The next section, local guidelines, will provide information on how to protect yourself and others, as well as specific information about Chicago-specific regulations, such as quarantine requirements. And again, we will update this as new guidelines become available. Where to eat. The Wabash cafeteria and Franklin's in the auditorium lobby will be open. And on this screen, you'll be able to find new hours, as well as some links to a few other local favorites that are open. The Getting Here section includes guidance on parking or safely using public transportation based on your campus. And the Remote Work and Learning section for students and staff who are learning or working remotely. We've compiled resources for them on the COVID-19 blog. And so this is just another way to very quickly access that information from within the app. IT help will allow you, broken slide there. IT help will allow you to very easily submit a help ticket or browse a knowledge base. And the contact section will allow you to easily send a message to the Roosevelt COVID-19 response team through the app. So moving forward, it's important to note, as I've mentioned a couple of times, that an app like this will be continually evolving. As new features become available, they'll be added. For example, the Dining Center is working on a remote ordering app, which we will include as a link on the Return to Campus app once it's ready. Similarly, as new needs are identified throughout the Return to Campus process, we'll do our best to adapt the app to those emerging needs. So key takeaways, completing the self-assessment form is mandatory each day you come to campus. It'll save you time and help ensure the health of our entire community. If you have been diagnosed with COVID-19 or think you may have it, don't come to campus, and please complete the appropriate form in the wellness section. And the app will continue to evolve as new needs are identified. So we ran through all that pretty quickly, leaving us plenty of time for questions and answers. I will take a look at what we have here. All right, we had a question from Elizabeth asking if this PowerPoint will be available. The recording of the entire thing will be available. I can also make the PowerPoint available if needed. We can include that with the link to the recorded video on the COVID-19 website. Marian Azaro asks, we are required to change our NetID login every 6 months. Won't we have to update our login on the app when we change our NetID? I believe if that is still the login update policy, then yes, that is correct. Neeraj, do you want to speak to that real quick? Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, thanks, Aaron. So yeah, when I saw that question, I was thinking about it, and I know that the current password policy requires people to change passwords twice a year. And I know that we have had a project going in the direction where we want to minimize that to change it once a year, provided we're able to increase the length of the password from 8 characters to 10 characters. I think by the time this fall semester starts, we'll be able to implement that the new policy. So what you did have in your presentation would hold true after September.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, next question had to do with if we are living on campus, what do we do if we take the self-assessment while already inside and it denies us entry? Neeraj, do you know the answer to that question?
What I do know is that the plan is for you to report the self-assessment. If it denies you entry, that notification then goes to Dean of Students, who are alerted about this fact. And then what we're also asking you is to contact the Dean of Students office so that they can place you, if appropriate, in a quarantine space that's available in the residence halls.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Raven. Should a new grad student click on current student or new student orientation? That's a good question. The new student orientation is only for incoming freshmen and transfer students. So we will make that clear on the persona selector as well, that is really only intended for new freshmen and transfer students who are not College of Performing Arts students. So there will be some context in there, and we'll make sure that that's clear. Next question. So we have a question about people entering the building, why people entering the building, if there is another way for people to enter the building without having to fill out paperwork. Is there an iPad station that can be sanitized after a person uses it? As far as I know, there is not, but the kind of most efficient way to do this is to fill out the self-assessment on your app before coming to campus. That will reduce the paperwork that is required. I don't know if that is an option or if that's been discussed, Neeraj.
Right. So the only options are self-assessment through the app or doing a paper assessment when you come in on campus, along with somebody taking your temperature at that time.
Okay, thank you. We have a question from Ed Dixon. Where can instructors ask for assistance with our laptops if the camera is not working? I'm assuming that the answer to that, Neeraj, is to fill out a help desk ticket.
Right, so, sorry, I didn't catch the part. Is it a faculty question or is it a,
yes.
I'm assuming it's a faculty question, faculty. Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so in each classroom, there is a phone number written down there that goes directly to the person on call at that campus who could assist them if that's the case. So that's probably the best way to put it. So because we have one team member who's always on campus and available to assist right away, provided they get a call on their cell phone.
All right, thank you. Emily McConnell asks, the app currently doesn't have an option to identify as faculty or staff. Is that rolling out on Monday as well? Excuse me. It is not. We're not going to have a persona dedicated specifically to faculty and staff. The app really has, up to this point, been very specifically aimed at current students. In adding the return to campus extension, that is targeted to current students as well as faculty and staff. So there really won't be any specific information on the app for faculty and staff outside of the return to campus app. So I hope that answers the question. Anything you wanted to add to that, Neeraj?
No, that's great. Yeah, we haven't really dedicated functionality towards employees at this point.
We had another question from someone who joined late who asked where the app can be found. You can find it in the iOS App Store or the Google Play Store, or you can go to roosevelt.edu/iOS or roosevelt.edu/Android, and that will take you directly to the appropriate store. Another attendee asks, if I'm diagnosed with COVID and I'm living in the dorms, what happens then? Neeraj, can you answer that?
Yes, if you are diagnosed, you have to contact, as Aaron indicated in the presentation, you just have to contact, there's a form for students. So if you're a student, you follow those instructions. It reaches to the Dean of Students office who have, and they have a plan to address that. So they have an entire game plan on how they would go about, and beginning with quarantine, isolation, whatever is appropriate based on individual conditions, they will take care of that from that point forward. The same applies to employees. If they just have to follow the instructions, reach out to fill the form, which goes automatically to HR, and then they are trained to handle it from that point forward.
Great, thank you. Let's see. All right, whom do we contact if we have difficulty using the app? The best option then is to fill out a help desk ticket. You can reach the help desk at roosevelt.edu/helpdesk, and then that will get routed to the appropriate office. David O asks, are freshmen required to return to campus? Neeraj?
No, no one is required in terms of students. I think as you may have heard in various presentations, the schedule is live for fall, and you can determine based on the schedule and based on your classes where they may be happening, whether it's face-to-face, online, or remote. You can make an appropriate decision that's best for you yourself, and that's how it is. But no student is actually required to be on campus.
All right, Elizabeth Baldo asks, I have to go to campus for 2 weeks beginning on Monday for OChem labs. If the app is not ready to launch on Monday, will there be a contingency plan for me and the other students in my lab? So I believe, and Neeraj, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if the app is not ready, there will just be the manual process of doing the temperature check and filling out the paper version of the form for those students, if the app is not ready. But we are, I'd say, probably 95% sure that the app will be going live on Monday. Is that accurate, Neeraj?
That's right.
Okay. Thank you. Cami McBride asks, if we already have the RU app downloaded, how to update it for the COVID screening portion? Good question. So once the new extension is pushed out to the app, you will be able to tap the little person icon on the top right-hand side of your device, and that will take you to the persona selector, and it will allow you to select the return to campus section or the return to campus persona, where you'll be able to fulfill the screening requirement. what is the procedure for students or for visitors to come to campus? And my understanding is that that will be the same as anyone who is not able to show a green check mark on the self-assessment would be temperature check and the paper version of the form. Is that accurate, Neeraj?
That's right.
Okay.
Aaron, I do want to point out one thing based on the previous question. In case somebody is actually trying to find the Return to Campus app at this time, they will not be able to see it because we have not pushed it live yet. That's likely to happen Sunday evening. And so in case somebody's trying it now, they will not be able to access it. But Sunday evening onwards, it will be available. And unless you see an email from us through various channels, an email and perhaps text and other ways to let you know that it's not going live.
All right. As a transfer student, how will I receive my ID? I do not know the answer to that question. Neeraj, do you know what the process is for students picking up IDs at this point?
So for actually, I don't, but we can. Those processes are not changing. It's just that if a new transfer student wants to come in, they would just come in as usual, but it's a new student, so they wouldn't know the usual thing. So yeah, they would come in and they would have to go to the registrar's office. Actually, when they come into campus safety, they'll be able to guide them on where the registrar's office is located, where they can actually get an ID printed or made for them.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. We have a couple of questions that I think we've already answered about when the new portion of the app will go live. We have a question about, can faculty experience the orientation for freshmen and new transfer students so we can better teach and support these students? It would be helpful for teachers to know that what students are learning through this orientation. So you can certainly, anybody can access the orientation section of the app. If you have specific questions, I would encourage you to reach out to the Center for Student Involvement, who organize orientation, and they'll be able to provide you with additional details. Question says, I am part of staff, but also a student. Are procedures the exact same for staff? The answer is yes. All students, faculty, and staff will have to go through the self-assessment procedure, showing the green check mark at the door and swiping their ID to enter. I'm not, Neeraj, shouldn't be any differences at all, should there?
No, that is correct.
Okay. Jennifer Hinton asks, I'm a staff member. Should I go through current students to enter my COVID-19 questions? I would say no, you should use the return to campus section of the app once that is pushed out. There are sort of specific things for faculty and staff there on that section of the app. We have a question about if you already have the app, will you have to re-download the app next week once the return to campus persona is added? No, you will not. It will update automatically. So you will then be able, if you already have the app, you'll just tap that person icon up on the top right-hand side of your device, and that will take you to the persona selector where you can switch over to the return to campus persona. We did have a question that I hope we've already answered about whether faculty will not have to check in. Faculty will have to check in with the app in order to enter the building. Related to an earlier question, someone asks, what's to stop a student from coming to the classroom section of the building if they live in the residence hall and get the red X? Neeraj, do you want to field that one?
So yeah, if they do get a red X, like I mentioned before, a notification does go out to the Dean of Students office. And then in terms of timing, I will confirm with the Dean of Students office that they'll be able to act on it. Because based on the questions, the two questions that I've seen in the list of questions that you shared, Aaron, that there may be a timing gap. So early on in the process, we talked about a way that similar to how students and employees who are entering the building have to show the green checkbox before they can actually enter the building. What we had discussed was that when students are coming from the residence halls and they're coming back into the building, that they would have to show the same check mark as they're leaving the residence hall facility and coming back into the classroom areas of the buildings. I will confirm that, but that was my understanding. And that's how we prevent those things from happening. Aaron, somebody had a question about they go into the app store and they see 3 apps for Roosevelt University. I just tried that on my phone at least, and I only see 1 app, so I'm not sure how to help them. But we just have 1 app.
Yeah, if the person who asked that question could let us know which store they're using, if it's the iOS store or the Google Play Store. What you might be seeing is older screenshots of the app. We've not updated with all the new functionality that we've added recently. We've not yet updated the screenshots in the app, so it might look like different apps, but it's actually all the same app. Let's see. Can you go back in the presentation to the screening questions and how the content will look? Sure, I can do that. So the simple yes/no questions, and I believe there's about a dozen of them, give or take, depending on, as new guidance from medical professionals comes out. Another ID question: as a freshman, when would we get an ID to enter the campus? I believe that will happen during your orientation session. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I'm pretty sure of that. You should reach out to the Center for Student Involvement, who runs orientation, and they will be able to confirm that. Question about yesterday's seminar: there will be a recording that you will be able to review. We have a question about in-person labs. If we don't feel comfortable going, will the teacher penalize us for not going? That's probably a question that was answered yesterday in the seminar, or with the webinar with Dr. Becker. Neeraj, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, that's more of an academic question, but no, my understanding is faculty will not penalize students for not being able to go to a lab, but that's a very generic response. They should work with their faculty specifically to ensure that that's the case. But in general, the guidance was that no, just because a student is unable to come to campus, they should not be penalized for anything. And when they say labs, again, my assumption was computer labs, but maybe they're talking about some other lab. So that's why I say that they should always consult with their faculty member on what the expectations are for each course, because we certainly don't want to get onto the academic turf at this point.
All right, Pranjal Sharma says, I'm also a student and TA, and I'm also living on campus. So should I wait for the app to go live or fill out the paperwork? So my understanding is that come Monday, you will need to, if the app is live, you will need to use the app. And if it is not, that is when the paperwork procedures will be implemented. Is that accurate, Neeraj?
That's right.
Okay. If one has a green check mark, will one's temperature still be taken upon entering campus? The answer to that is no. The point of the filling out the self-assessment in the app is to speed your entrance into campus. So you'll need to take your temperature beforehand to confirm that you do not have a fever, and enter that information accurately into the self-assessment form. And then you'll be able to just show the green check mark to the campus safety staff, and you'll be able to enter the building. We have a question about the university center, whether the app will be needed to enter the university center as well, or just Wabash building and the auditorium building. I don't believe that will be the case. Neeraj, do you know the answer?
I'm sorry, Aaron, say that again. Which question are you?
If the app will be needed to enter the university center.
No, it will not be. It's only strictly for Roosevelt University campuses.
Okay.
Buildings.
Thank you. All right, I think, oh, we have one more question here that I'm not sure that we can answer, but if it's not COVID and just a common cold, how will that situation be handled? I'm not sure what if that means when filling out the app. Basically, the answer is if you have symptoms that are a common cold or are COVID, if the check mark, if the app doesn't give you the green check mark, if it gives you a red X, then regardless of what the cause of those symptoms is, you should not come to campus. We want to make sure that no one with any symptoms that could possibly be COVID-19 is gaining entrance to one of the Roosevelt buildings. Would you say that's accurate, Neeraj?
Yes.
All right, and we have another question about faculty assistance for the getting camera assistance remotely. So I think basically you just need to fill out a help desk ticket, and then the help desk will reach out to you and do whatever they can remotely to assist you.
Right, and Aaron, you may want to emphasize that within the app, there's that feature of IT help where they could submit a ticket through that channel, or they can go to roosevelt.edu/helpdesk at any point on any website, web page, or through the web, I should say, and they can submit a request that way, and that alerts the right people who can then contact you and connect remotely to help you.
Okay, thank you. And then Elizabeth just points out that it seems really important to me that students know that they will not be penalized academically in any way if they have a red X on their self-assessment. Agreed, Elizabeth, and I think given what Neeraj said, our understanding is that the faculty will not penalize students for not attending a class in person. So we do want to make sure that students do not have negative consequences for accurately filling out their self-assessment. We want to make sure that students do fill that out accurately and that they do not come to campus if their self-assessment tells them not to. So I agree that that is important, that students should absolutely know that. They should not be penalized academically for not coming to campus.
Right, and as was described in yesterday's presentation on the academic side by Provost Becker, each classroom is being equipped with a camera and microphones so that students who are unable to attend a particular class or choose not to come in for their safety reasons, they would always be able to watch the videos or connect synchronously to the class, since all of these classes will have that necessary equipment and would be able to zoom into these classes remotely.
All right, I think that is the end of our questions. If you do have additional questions, you should feel free to email me at this email address, arester@roosevelt.edu. I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can about the app itself. If you have questions that are more on the academic side or anything like that, I can refer you to the proper office, but I wouldn't be able to answer those questions as I'm just the tech guy. So do want to thank you all for attending today. And thank you, Neeraj, for joining me. And we look forward to a safe and healthy fall semester.
Great. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you everyone for tuning in.